this order. As chair of the Timberlane Regional School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the board at timberlane.net/Zoom-TRSB. If anybody has a problem, please call 382-6541, extension 3955. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Kat, can you take the attendance, please? We do have a few members that might be late, so.
Ryan Boyle.
I am here. I am alone in the home.
Lee Doobie.
I am here. I'm alone in my home office.
Kim Farah.
I'm here. I'm alone in the room, but there are other family members in the house.
Barbara Kishka.
Present, alone in the residence.
Sheila Lowe's.
Here, alone in the residence.
Sarah Mockmer.
I'm here. I am alone in my office, but there are other family members in the house.
Sean O'Neill.
I'm here. I'm alone in my office, and there's other people in my household.
Kristen Savage.
I am present. I am alone, and there are other people in my household.
Jennifer Silva.
I think she'll be on shortly. She just came out of another meeting. Thank you.
Do we have Dr. Cochran?
I'm alone in my office, but there's another family member in the house.
And Jenna Horan.
I'm here alone in the room, but there are other family members in the household.
Thank you very much.
So we'll move on to approval of the minutes. There are two sets. There's the August 20th public and August 20th non-public. I'll entertain a motion for both sets of minutes if somebody, well, actually, we should do the public first. Is there a motion?
So motioned.
Barbara makes the motion. Sheila seconds.
Nice job on the minutes, Kat.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the minutes?
Yes, I'm fine with the minutes. It's just that part of our protocol is normally to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I like to move into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't on the agenda. Oh, I guess, well, it probably was on the short agenda. Sorry. Thank you, Sean. If you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. So we're back to the minutes. We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion on the August 20th public minutes? If not, Kat, could you take the roll call vote, please?
Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Doobie.
Yes.
Dr. Farah.
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's.
Yes.
Mrs. Mockmer.
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Savage.
Yes.
And I'm guessing hello, Mrs. Silva.
No, I don't see her. Okay, moving on to the August 20th non-public minutes. Is there a motion on those minutes?
It's so moved.
Sheila makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Kat, could you take the vote, please?
Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Doobie.
Yes.
Dr. Farah.
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's.
Yes.
Mrs. Mockmer.
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Savage.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes.
No, it was-
We heard you, sorry.
I was trying to see if Jen was here yet.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to delegates and individuals. We have 5 delegates and individuals that were provided to me prior to the meeting. So I'm going to allow those people to speak in the order that I have their names listed. So the first person is Jen Bison. Is she here? Could you take the floor or add her on? I see you there. If you could unmute. I will remind you, you should be limited to about 3 minutes. So please go ahead, state your name for the record and what town you're from.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Jen Beeson, I'm from Sandown. I'm gonna do my best to keep it to 3 minutes. This is the first time I've spoken at one of the board meetings. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their efforts and long hours to hopefully come up with an agreement and get our kids back in school. My 7-year-old daughter has been in the district since she was 4 when she started preschool. Every single teacher she's had has been phenomenal, and I have been so grateful for how amazing her teachers have been. She has learned so much since starting school, and she loves school and she loves her teachers. But last spring, when we went remote, and for the first 3 weeks, she had no ability to see or interact with her teacher, her education as a first grade student was over. She went from a happy student who loved learning to a girl who did not want to try or put any effort into her assignments. Every single assignment was a struggle that would end in tears and meltdowns. And because she did not want to learn at home from a computer with me as her instructor, she did not learn. I have been doing my best this summer to try to catch her up with her reading and writing skills. A friend of mine gave me permission to share her story. Her kindergarten student was progressing and learning as well last year, and then remote happened. This year, she had no other choice than to find the money to send him to a private school because she has a full-time job. On the very first day at his private school, she got a call from the principal saying that her child was so far behind from his peers that he should not be in first grade this year. He needs to be in kindergarten. That was a shock to her, as no one had caught how badly this child had fallen behind. I want to say that this virus is nothing to mess with, but I feel really lucky to live in a state where COVID numbers are so low that health experts agree that we can be back in school with safe and proper precautions. If I was unlucky enough to be in another state, I would not send my daughter, even though she would fall further and further and further behind. I just want to say, so last spring when we went remote, I had concerns about how things were going, but the virus was new, the situation was new, and we were just doing the best we could, and I get it. But COVID is not going away anytime soon, in my opinion, and we're in this for the long haul, which is why I feel I do need to become an active participant in her education because I don't want her to fall behind. So one thing I wanted to bring up was that I would really like to see ongoing evaluations of how we're doing at educating our kids, no matter what plan or model we're in. I'd love to see maybe every month surveys sent to teachers and parents to see how we're doing, what are our challenges, what is going well, where can we make changes. And I would love to have flexibility as a school district and at each level to make the changes where we need to so we can meet these kids' needs. I would also like to see more flexibility offered to school principals because Sandown North has a totally different situation than the high school. And I don't think we should have to stick to something that is a one-size-fits-all plan because we have such different needs. K through 5 is so different. The other thing is I haven't really heard a lot about getting the kids outside. I feel that we should be using the outdoors every possible way we can, not only for mass breaks, but also for lessons. When kids like my daughter, are learning phonics, it's going to be difficult in masks. So if we can get them outside as much as possible, I think that they will learn better. The other thing that I want to say is that I have struggled with feeling really left out of the process as a parent. I know I'm not a decision maker. I'm not on the board. I'm not a teacher. I'm not the administration, but parents want to help. We want to be part of the solution. One thing I've heard repeated to me is stop complaining and be part of the solution. But my response is, I don't know how. No one's given me the ability to do that. I would love to see opportunities for parents to be able to help. I think parents would definitely come out in large numbers to say volunteer to oversee a group of students for a mask break. Whatever is needed. I know I would volunteer for that. And I would love for there to be more opportunities, to be part of the solution and to help. So anyways, I guess in closing, I just want to say that I really hope that, I really hope that we have come to an agreement, and we'll be doing hybrid. And I really hope that we can just sort of continue to evaluate the success of whatever model we're in and get outreach from teachers and parents to see where we need to make changes. And I'm really hoping that we can have flexibility to meet these needs. So if we need to make minor changes along the way, I just hope that we can look at that. Thank you.
And thank you. And I'm certain you've got many staff here that will have heard your comments and will probably be happy to take you up on that in terms of parent assistance. And we need to all think out of the box on this one. So thank you. Moving on to Mr. Paul Blair.
I am not seeing a Paul Blair online at the moment.
Okay, Jeannie Melhoy. Excuse my pronunciation. Jeannie. Okay, let's give her a few minutes and Mr. Blair. Let's move on. Is Maria, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a Jeannie Mailhot either.
Okay, let's move on to Maria Kendall.
Maria is on.
Okay, thank you, Maria. If you could unmute and just state your name and town or group for the record. Thank you.
Good
evening. Can you hear me?
I'm just going to interrupt Kim. I think Paul Blair is listed under the attendees list as just Paul. He's the one with the hand raised, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, let's have Maria go, and then we'll bring Paul on. Paul, if you can hear me, you'll be after Maria. Thank you, Lee.
Good evening, Timberlane Regional School Board members, administrators, staff, students, families, and community. First of all, I'd like to thank all of those involved in creating the Timberlane Teachers Association Memorandum of Understanding for Working Conditions. Countless hours have been put in by all parties involved. The Memorandum of Understanding is intended to address impact on working conditions by the reopen plan approved by the school board. The MOU was voted on, ratified by 96% of Timberlane Teachers Association members. We look forward to the school board approving the MOU tonight. I need to be clear that the Timberlane Teachers Association did not approve the reopening plan and still has grave concerns as we sit here with schools starting on Tuesday. Our members have consistently expressed growing concerns as we approach opening day. The schools are not quite ready. Although we have just started to receive answers to some questions with the start of school scheduled for next Tuesday, we recognize that there are still many questions and concerns that remain unanswered that apply to directly servicing students. These questions refer to PPE for students and staff, special education delivery model, staffing in pre-kindergarten through K-12 classrooms, temperature control in the classrooms, and HR requests that remain unanswered. The educators of our district care deeply about their students and are excited to begin the school year. However, the anxiety and concern over the unsettled nature of things in our schools is at a very high level. We must ensure that PPE, temperature regulations, technology needs, and learning and special education service models are worked out by Tuesday's start date. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria Kendall. Moving on to Mr. Blair. Is Paul Blair on now?
Can you guys
All
hear me?
is live.
Yes, hi, we can hear you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Blair.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak here tonight and for all of the work that all of you have done to this point. I would like to focus my time here on the metrics associated with COVID and how they relate to in-person learning. Recently, the state of New Hampshire Infectious Disease Control released new school guidelines on 9/1. These guidelines echo the petition sent to the members of this board, the TTA president, and the TTSU president. Basically, that is to say that evaluation and changing of learning models should be based solely on community infection data, and specifically the data based out of Rockingham County. And furthermore, the inclusion of the state of emergency is not a metric. By using this, we have actually deviated from the use of any actual data in our decision-making process. The New Hampshire Division of Public Health and Services Bureau of Infectious Disease Control, in their newly released guidelines for transitioning school models based on the level of COVID data transmission. That's what these guidelines cover. And essentially what they're stating is the county in which the school resides, the epidemiology data there should be used in the determination of the instructional models and switching back and forth from a model. And the criteria that they've actually put in there are three. The first one is COVID-19 positivity rate, which is a 7-day running average. And their stated rates for the least risk, which they list as minimal, is 5%. We are currently more than 4 times lower than this. Now at currently under 2%. So number one, we're 4 times lower than their first one. Number two, the criteria they state is the new infection rate per 100,000 people, which is a 14-day running average. And their stated rate for the minimal risk, which is their least risk profile, is under 50. And the Rockingham County is currently hovering around 15, which is about 3+ lower than their stated rate. So on the first one, we're 4 times lower. On the second one, we're 3 times lower. On their third criteria, hospitalizations per 100,000 people, which is a 14-day running average, 10 every 14 days is what they highlight as their least risk. And we are currently in Rockingham County less than 2 every 14 days. So now that's a 5 times lower than all of the model they state. So the first criteria, we're 4 times lower. Second criteria, we're 3 times lower. The third criteria, we are 5 times lower. And furthermore, there are roughly 9 people currently hospitalized total in the state of 1.35 million people. The board and the administration here set an infection rate of 0.1%. We have been hovering at less than half of this for months and months and months at this point. CDC guidelines were also incorporated into the plan, and the CDC guidelines state, and I quote, 6 feet or masks when not possible. This is something we can absolutely do. As this board has previously stated, Furthermore, CDC also recommends a full return to school in areas where community transmission is low. So in summation, I could go all day, but I have 3 minutes. So in summation, the AAP recommends a full return. The Surgeon General has publicly stated all of the negative health effects that are associated with remote learning, including not limited to suicide, drug overdose, obesity, depression, and many, many, many others. As we talked about before, CDC recommends a full return to school. Rockingham County is substantially below all new state level metrics, the board's stated infection rate, and any other epidemiological measure you could employ. And the inclusion of the state of emergency should be removed. This covers everything from plastic bag use at a grocery store to federal funding. The state of emergency will be here for years to come, and it's irrespective of any viral data or community infection rate. For all these reasons, this board and district administration should use only epidemiological data when choosing or changing learning models. Not only is that safe, but it's what 80% of all the parents want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Blair, thank you. And as I replied, the board members did receive the petition from the parent group that I think you represent. And I do anticipate that the board will be looking at that new guidance from the state at our next meeting. There just was not time prior to this meeting. I'd also encourage you to listen to the rest of the meeting tonight or later to understand where we stand on staffing. Thank you. Moving on, Coral Hampy.
Coral Hampy Danville, TTA Vice President. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. First, I would like to thank the entire staff of the Timberlane District for the long hours put forth into the reopening of schools. Next Tuesday, school starts. For some, the school doors will open. For others, the Chromebooks open. Altogether, we begin to build the relationships that will continue through the year. Today, I heard from many educators across the district about their concerns. These are concerns that we have been voicing for months. So for the record, and for parents to hear, I would like to read you a small amount of these concerns. There will be teachers who will need to stand in the doorway of connecting rooms, teaching two groups of students, thus reducing the amount of curriculum that will be taught. The cafeterias and classrooms look like sterile testing sites with desks placed 6 feet apart and facing the same direction. There will be limited socializing due to the spacing and masks and no contact. Some teachers do not yet have class lists or access to IEPs for their caseloads. Speaking of special ed, they still do not have the necessary PPE they need for small group work, and they have not received guidance from admin on how to deliver services, how to implement OT and PT materials, or implement testing without the appropriate PPE, all while completing a review of their caseload in 30 days. The HVAC systems have not been certified, and we have been told not to use fans or windows to mitigate the heat in the classrooms. There are many staff members who do not know yet if they have been approved to work remotely, and some who were asked today to send more proof. Many emails and calls to HR have gone unanswered for weeks. And there is a daily concern about staff coverage for classes and duties during this pandemic. Thank you for allowing me to read but a few of the concerns into the record. Please have a safe holiday weekend.
Thank you. Before we close out the delegate session, I just want to ensure that Jeannie Malho is not on and would like to speak. Okay, then moving on to our student rep. Jenna, did you have anything you'd like to? Oh, sorry. What?
I think Miss Malhoy might be JMM with the hand raised in participants.
Lee, you're so good. Can we unmute JMM in the participants?
She is on.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you.
I have to be quick because I have my little buddy here next to me again tonight.
Okay, could you just state what town you're from?
Yep, I'm from Plasto. My son's entering into the 6th grade.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I'd really just like to mention that us as parents are representing a silent majority right now. And I'd like to reiterate what I said at the last school board meeting, that not only should the focus be on our children and adapting to them being in school however we can, but the ripple effect of them not being in school and what that does to our community as a whole and long term. I just feel like a lot of parents don't have time to be on social media and don't have time to get together a speech on school board to express what they've already said in the survey that came out, because they're busy working, taking care of their children, and trusting that a system that was set up is going to be there to deliver something that is genuinely necessary. I think that the outcome of not allowing our children to go to school is going to see so much more drastic downfall in our children and our community than the things that we might have to adapt to or regulate as we go, going into in-person. And we've gotten a lot of backlash for standing up, but it really is in support of the people that I talk to all day long that are relying on the public school system to give every one of our kids an equal playing field. And to me, it's a essential thing, just like anything else that's rolling right now. That it just should, no matter what, we should be making it work, especially no matter the details, because we all have to adapt as we go, and asking for our children to do all the adapting is a bit too much for me. So I just wanted to speak up for all the parents in the community and say that, we are really hoping you make a choice that allows every single one of the kids in the Timberlane community to have an equal education as promised to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Moving on then to our student rep. Jenna, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, yes, thank you. I had the opportunity this week to be a part of a filming of the 6-minute video for the high schoolers that went out, I believe, yesterday. And it answered a lot of the questions that I have been getting from my peer and from the families that I know in the district. But I think that it was only the beginning of a trend that should continue of amazing communication and very detailed answers to the questions that people have. I have heard wonderful responses to the video that we recorded, but I still have questions coming in from all over the place, and I'm sure that you as board members and administrators and teachers have been getting constant emails and phone calls as well about the reopening plan. I just want to advocate for more communication to the students specifically who may not have their parents be constantly informing them of what's going on Facebook groups or over their emails. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. People are working tirelessly to answer questions, and I'm sure you will still be getting information over the next few days, and hopefully it might be a little rocky at the start, but we're determined to get everything back up and running. And I appreciate all the efforts of teachers, staff, and especially the administrators who I know have been putting in seriously long hours. So moving on to the next part of the agenda, and as I'm sitting here and trying to work through how I'm going to manage this next part, my thought here is, and I know we have quite a few participants, and I do kind of want to answer a little bit about cohorts and moving from remote to 100%. These will be posted. These are executive summaries. Just so people are aware, we've had over 100 requests for accommodations from staff or leaves during COVID. So that is something that the board is well aware of at this point, and it's something that we have to obviously look at should we move to a full 100% in-person model. It may not necessarily be driven by the metrics, more so driven by the staffing. So I want people to be aware of that. Also, as it was alluded to, there is a draft MOU that the board received this afternoon, which they will need to go into a non-public to have a discussion on, as well as another action item regarding requests for accommodations. So at the board's pleasure, what I would like to do is move into a non-public under C and L to discuss those two items and then come back into a public session.
I think you just need to make it clear that we have a TTA MOU.
We have a TTA MOU to discuss.
Correct.
We do not have a TSSU
We do
MOU
not.
to discuss. It does not, don't take that to mean that there will be no TSSU people in the building.
No, it's just that
don't think
that's what we'll
it
be
means.
discussing.
We'll be discussing the TTA MOU.
And
So-
also move into non-public under CNL.
So I'm looking for a motion to enter into a non-public under 91A, Section 3, Paragraph 2, Section C and L.
So moved.
Sheila's
Second.
making that motion. Who seconds?
Second.
Sean seconds. I'll take a roll call vote and then I will, well, before I take the roll call vote, for public viewers and also for all your admin that are off, I would anticipate this will last at least a half an hour to 45 minutes in a non-public with the board. So if you got a short TV show or something you want to watch, feel free. We will be coming back into public. See, I'm already losing people. So let's take the roll call vote. I anticipate at least a half an hour. I don't want you guys just hanging on here. So go ahead, Kat.
Mr. Boyle,
Brian, you're muted.
Hit the space bar, Brian.
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage, Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Okay, so we leave and go in the other one, right?
Anybody who is supposed in public,
So moved.
Sheila makes a motion. Barbara seconds. Kat, could you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
I don't see him back yet.
There he is.
There he is.
Mr. O'Neill, do you yes or no to steal the minutes?
Yeah, yes, just feel him.
Mrs. Savage
Yes.
and Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
I was just more surprised to see Brian in here yet.
Poor Brian, he always gets picked on.
Sorry, Brian.
All right. I can handle it.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get reorganized after this session. All right, so what I would like to first do is seek a motion from the board to add up to 10 temporary full-time positions to assist during the COVID crisis and to allow the superintendent to take additional steps as necessary to provide for sufficient staffing.
So made.
Second.
Sheila makes a motion. Sheila seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Kat, could you take the vote, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
One down.
Thank you. So that motion passes. Before we go back into the agenda, I do want to put out, obviously that was a much longer non-public than people would have anticipated. The board had much discussion with administration about our current staffing and some issues that we are having in terms of the bus routing. And based on that, the board and administration has come to an agreement that we should be looking at the following for the start of the school year. We will not have bus routes available till September 10th. We will still be opening on the 8th and 9th, but we will do so with a remote hybrid schedule with students working from home. On the 10th, the elementary schools will go back in the blended cohort model, and you will receive all this in an email, I'm sure, or through school messenger. So elementary schools will start on the 10th in a cohort blended model. The high school will start on the 14th in the blended cohort model. The middle school.
No. Kim, high school starts on the 10th on the.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 10th. High school starts on the 10th, sorry.
High school and elementary.
High school and elementary start on the 10th with the blended cohort model. The middle school will not start until September 21st in the cohort model, and this is due to staffing issues. Right now, we do not have enough staff in order to staff those buildings or to staff at the middle school due to accommodations that have been requested and allowed. So for parents out there, this will be put out. Did anybody else, anybody want to add anything?
I just want to clarify that the middle school will be starting on the 8th along with everybody else, but they will be doing the hybrid schedule from home from the 8th through the 7th or the
21st.
Starting on the 21st in person in school.
Correct.
So they'll be at home up through, and then on the 21st, they will start in school.
Yes.
Correct? Yes.
And we also understand that some students don't have their Chromebooks yet. And when do we expect those?
The Chromebooks, we anticipated that we may have to be going to remote in the fall. We proactively ordered Chromebooks way back in the June timeframe. Unfortunately, us and everybody else has ordered Chromebooks. We are anticipating, hopefully, that they will be received by mid to late September. But as our technology people have pointed out, we're a small fish in a big pond. So when these big districts put out their requests, those probably are going to get fulfilled. So we could be looking at October timeframe for those Chromebooks. We are going to be putting out a call to students that may have just graduated. Jenna, you probably know a lot of them, to turn in their Chromebooks if they have them, if they'd like to donate them or whatever. We'll have to then clean and sanitize and try to get the. We're going to try to do our best to make sure that everybody has a device. So that's where we stand on the Chromebooks.
If there is a possibility that somebody does not have a device, absolutely does not have one, there's going to be something added to the pickup patrol. Sarah, am I correct?
Yes, it would be like how they report an absence, and they would say that they are absent due to lack of access, and that way the secretaries can give that information to teachers, and then teachers can circle back around with the students. That's the most efficient way to do it.
And there'll be something coming out from the respective schools on all this information. But we felt it important to give everybody a heads up as to where we stand.
And busing should be out for the high school and the elementaries before Thursday.
Correct.
Kim, Jenna wants to speak. Jenna, go ahead.
Jenna, go ahead. Go ahead, Jenna.
Two quick things. So to clarify for people listening, cohort 2 for the elementary and high school levels will be the first people to be in person, and cohort 1 will wait till not next week, but the week afterwards. Am I right in saying that?
The 14th.
Right.
And then also, do you want me to reach out to fellow students to put out on social media or text friends that if they have old Chromebooks to donate them, or is that going to come only from the school?
I don't know. It was just a thought. I don't know how to handle that. Dr. Cochran, you have any ideas? We might want to have a consolidated drop-off point for those donations.
I can follow up with Ken in the morning.
Well, we'll get something out on that pretty quickly now that we know that we have a problem with that.
And then if, Jenna, if you could then share it, because we're sure that you'll have a different avenue than we would to get it out, that would be great.
Of course, whenever you give me the information, I'll have me and some other student leaders send it out to everywhere that we can.
Thank you, Jenna.
Of course.
If I could say something, Kim. We do have the capability to contact graduate students through School Messenger. So I can send out another email to them, and I can come up with a drop point that's consolidated. Probably at the high school would be the easiest. I do want everybody to know that we did reach out to the class of 2020 in June/July for a voluntary turn-in at the end of July, and some students didn't turn them in. So there was that reach out, and we did get some back, but we're scrambling a little bit, so I can certainly send out another call.
Great, thank you. All right, so moving then along in the agenda, the next item that we need to take action on, and we had discussion on this as in a non-public session, is that the board needs to take action regarding our ability, or maybe Mrs. Louiselle wants to come in here, that an employee's fear of contracting COVID-19 without references to any other condition be allowed accommodations. Would that be the motion that we want to make? So in regards to COVID-19 accommodations, we are actually looking to take action on the document that is included in the packet, and that we will allow accommodations for items 1, 2, and 3, that we will not be allowing accommodations for number 4. I think that would be the simplest route to take. Does everybody follow where I'm talking about on this?
I do.
Yes. Okay.
Can we
Okay.
share that document or read it so that the public is aware of what we're taking action on exactly?
Well, we could share it perhaps.
Just
I
share
can't
screen.
share it off my screen because I'm on 2 different computers right now, and I have that on a different computer.
Which page of the agenda packets is this on?
This is a separate page in the agenda packet. It's not in the main agenda packet.
Okay.
Maybe I can just read this to summarize. So there are specific things that the board could allow accommodations for in regards to COVID. One is if an employee has a disability or medical condition. The board is looking to allow that, and we have been allowing that. 2 is if an employee or family member under their care has a non-disabling circumstances that place them at high risk. We are allowing for those accommodations. This would be things like type 2 diabetes or COPD with a family member. The third is that if you're at risk for severe illness increases with age. Oh, Jeff is starting to share this. And the next is an employee's need for childcare whose school or place of care is closed because of COVID. So what we're looking at, and Mr. Dowd has got this up now, is that the board is looking to, or I'm looking for a motion from the board to disallow an employee's fear of contracting COVID to allow for accommodations. So
I will make the motion, but I'd like to make it in the positive that we're allowing reasons 1 through 3 for accommodations, given that those are reasons allowable under current laws. These are rights that employees do have.
okay.
And we would
second.
include 4.
Okay, so Jen makes the motion that we allow 1 through 3, and that Sheila seconds. Any discussion? Kat, could you take the vote on that, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kichka,
Abstain. I didn't have a chance to see this.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockmer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm looking. The next item that I want to hit on the agenda is the class size. Are we looking for a motion from the board to to increase class sizes, Dr. Cochran?
Override the class size policy.
All right.
I'll make
So
a
we're,
motion to override the classroom policy up to the state limits.
Sean makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Kristen seconds.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
Is this for a particular class that we're looking for this, or?
This is in general to allow the district or the staff, the administrative staff, to bring class levels up to the level. Our levels are lower than the state levels. Should they need to, in order to fully staff classes, or to ensure that students that some of these remote cohorts might have to be a little bit larger just because of the way the staffing's working. So it's a blanket. It's not for a certain class at a certain school at this point.
Right.
But in person, we are still looking to maintain social distance. So if we do end up back in person, those in-person class sizes will not be at 30 students, I'm assuming.
It's a question for the administration. So this is looking to override the class policy in terms of the remote instruction cohorts, correct?
I would rather give it as a blanket. But quite honestly, it wouldn't come into play in the hybrid model. So.
Right.
I'm more concerned if we switch models halfway through the year, that we end up in a situation where we have 30 students in a class, 28 students in a 5th grade class.
It can only go up to the state.
I
Right.
understand. That's fine. Call the question.
All right, Kat, can you go ahead and take a vote on that?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie, Lee,
You're on mute. Might have stepped away.
No, I'm here. Spacebar just doesn't want to work with me. Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Under the circumstances, yes.
Mrs. Mockmer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
No.
Okay. We have two other items on the reopening plan update, the food service program and the SPED update. I do realize that both of these are presentations. The ventures really after 10 o'clock here, and we still have other items to move through this agenda. So if you could, for lack of a better word here, kind of cut to the chase on, or the highlights here, Mr. Dowd, if you could just go on, go ahead, and then we'll move on to the SPED update.
Quickly.
And I don't, go ahead.
Quickly, I will update everyone on just a little bright spot, a little bit of good news, and that is that last Sunday on the 31st, the USDA granted the state New Hampshire an eligibility waiver, area eligibility waiver, which essentially opens us up to the way that we were able to operate food service in the spring during the remote learning environment at that time. So what that means is that our lunches will be, and breakfast will be free to all students, and that is going to run through December 31st, 2020, or until such time as the program funding runs out. So again, this is not just for free and or reduced students. This is available to all of our students. Students who are participating in the hybrid option would have lunch available at the schools. There's an additional benefit in the schools to this, and that is not only that we will probably get greater participation, but the fact that we don't have to have the students stop and provide their name or have so much interaction with the cash register, I think will help make that even a less or more contactless event. So if they are in the schools, they will be available, lunch will be available in the schools. Everyone is going to be off on each Wednesday. That'll be a remote day. We plan right now on having our 4 town schools cafeterias have bags available. So remote and hybrid school students from all schools can participate, but having them at one location, each elementary school in each town, allows everyone in each town to be able to participate. Hybrid students would receive 3 breakfasts and 3 lunch meals over to use on the days that they're not in. It wouldn't be in 3 days remote on any given week. Remote only students would receive 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches. Pickup may be made by parent or guardians. So I put this in just in the event that the district opens remotely on Tuesday, September 8th. Meals will be available at the elementary schools listed above from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So again, meals will be available at the 4 elementary schools every Wednesday for remote hybrid students. And as we appear to be opening on Tuesday, September 8th in a remote fashion, lunches will be available at those 4 elementary schools for all students. And that is all.
Jeff, are you asking for people to sign up again, or?
No, we're not asking people to sign up again, but I would ask that if you may feel that you're free or reduced lunch eligible, that you continue the process to get your paperwork in or get your paperwork in generally. The program runs until the 31st of December or until funding runs out, which could come up pretty quick. So we're not asking for signups in any way, but I am asking for people to consider getting their applications in.
And is this going to be going out to all parents?
We're going to have, I think, work out a few more details after what the board had just mentioned in terms of the opening plans, middle school, but we will have a communication going out to the parents to this effect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Rosico, and I think I was a little cavalier in my comment. I do not want you to rush through this. I know there are many parents out there that really would like this update on the SPED, as would the board. So please don't feel that you need to rush through this presentation.
Thank you. So to begin, good evening. I do have 3 pieces of information in the packet. So the public is aware, teams are going to be meeting from September 8th through October 8th. And the state is requiring that they review each one of the educational plans to look at COVID-19 makeup and also the students' ability to access the curriculum. And so we do have some students who are now, teams are now looking at the fact that our March through June activities were not able to access the curriculum to the extent that they needed to. Some of our students were also able to access ESY, which was an improved platform, and made some success. As we go forward now, after a lot of our training and now looking at new ways to provide lessons, the teams are going to have to make critical decisions in 2 areas. And that's to look at the educational plan, one for remote learning, and then also to look at the plan for on-site learning. As the teams review this across the state, teams are finding that there are a handful of students in areas where we are going to need to consider those that are going to need to come more time on-site than off-site. This will be a team decision and something we will need to support as we move forward. Every case is different and the answers are different to each student. The state is requiring that the plans be individualized, and in their audits, when they go through their audits, ours would be next year, they are going to be looking at the way in which we made up our COVID makeups, which the governor calls compensatory ed. Just so the public is aware, compensatory ed is really a legal piece that is part of a process when there's wrongdoing. All SPED directors will tell you that there's no wrongdoing. We didn't predict or plan or create the pandemic. So we are looking at it from a sense of a COVID makeup lessons and moving it forward. I can tell you that a lot of makeup was done during our ESY and it was successful for those who could take advantage of it at that time. We do have students in the district that were not able to take advantage of it because of a variety of reasons. So what we are looking at is going through with our teams, making sure that parents are now going to be receiving information, letters, requesting FERPA access in terms of confidentiality as we move forward in our new model. In the board's packet, there's a rubric that we need to follow that clearly outlines exactly where we're looking in terms of a student that would need more time on site, and then additional ways to meet their needs remotely. I can certainly answer any questions that the board may have regarding this, but this is a process that's ongoing, and it's absolutely going to be something that's done according to the governor's executive order number 46, and we'll do it case by case.
Any questions, Sheila, then Jen?
Susan, have the case managers been in touch with their students? Because I know, you know, a lot of times case managers change grade to grade or student to student. Have these parents been in touch?
I'm not sure I'm clear, Sheila, and what you mean by in touch. Have they reached out to them to let them know that they're the case manager?
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
Has that all been done already?
Well, it's in process. I think they're doing outreach with the parents first because of the timelines they need to follow for those meetings. And they have been working in that area. I don't believe I can say to you that they've reached every child at this moment because some were not available at the time they were available. But that outreach has started, and it has started a lot with parents. I know I've been reaching out and directing them to the appropriate case manager at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Jen?
I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay, I thought you did. Okay, thank you. Moving on, sorry, did I miss something?
I just said you're welcome.
Oh, okay. Moving on then, I'm just looking through this. The rest of this, I think we're, one other thing on the reopening plan, and Kristen brought this to my attention. We would like to put out there for the public that we are in need of substitute teachers, and that we have provided direction to the superintendent to increase the pay rate for substitute teachers. So that will be going up. And we are reaching out to people that are interested in subbing. So, okay, so moving on to, we have a $1,200 donation that is an action item here. Sandown North is in receipt of a grant donation to purchase a touchless water bottle refill station. And I think I saw Mrs. Stafford is on. I'm assuming that's why you're, I'm not sure who provided that. I don't see the information in the packet. Mrs. Stafford?
Hi, yeah. Good evening, everybody. We're really excited. Our physical education teacher, Mrs. DeCristofaro, had applied for a grant through the American Heart Association, and in particular, it's part of the Kids Heart Challenge. And she applied last spring for this and sent me a really exciting text over the summer that we had, she had been granted the grant for $1,200, again, to buy this, to purchase this water bottle refill station. And one of the questions on the application was the number of years that she's been involved. And some of you, Ms. Lowe's, you have known Kim for a long time, and Mr. Doobie. She has been involved with Jump Rope for Heart and Hoops for Heart for over 25 years. So I think that maybe helped a little bit, but it was something people applied for throughout the country, and we're really pleased that she applied and got it. Yeah.
Good for her.
Oh, congratulations, and thank her for all her efforts on that. I remember my daughter doing Jump Rope for Heart when she was younger. So I'm looking for, the board needs to accept this donation by policy. Looking for motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the $1,200 grant for the water bottle refill station, and go Mrs. D, good for you.
Second.
Okay, Jen seconds. Kat, could you take the roll call on that?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the athletic trainer contract. You have that in your packets. Mr. Fantasia, it looks like you've done what the board has asked and had some further language in there regarding to cancellations and COVID. So we're looking for action to approve that contract for the 2021 year.
I'll make a motion to approve the access contract for the 2020 year as written with the extra for COVID, and I thank you very much for adding that.
Sheila makes a motion. Jen seconds. Any discussion? Thank you, Mr. Fantasia. Did you want to add something?
No, just thank you to everybody and to Jeff Dowd as well, who helped, broker some of that conversation, and Access has done a great job for us. We're really happy with it, and we're excited to get started.
Great, thank you. So let's, Kat, can you take the vote on that?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Kim, can I ask Angelo a question while we have him on? Because I just want to clear something up.
Go ahead.
On that, Angelo, if I can just pick your brain. I don't know if this is true or a rumor, but I'm hearing middle school athletics. Can you just explain how that's going to work?
So we've worked out a couple of different options, and we're still communicating with athletic directors and athletic coordinators of middle schools. Middle school is a little tricky because of the age level and the traveling back and forth. So what we're trying to do right now is create an opportunity to keep as many kids as we can and service as many kids as we can. We know at the middle school level, it's about skill development and connections and having some fun and feeling good about themselves. So right now, what we're looking to do is, I know we have, when we get to the cohort models, we'll have our young kids in school, and we're going to make sure that those kids, when you're in school, you're at practice. If you're not in school and you can't come to practice, that's okay. And it's almost like we're going to have, the Monday, Tuesday kind of thing and the Thursday, Friday thing. And if we have kids that are completely remote, we'll make sure that we work it out with those kids and parents on which days they can come. We're trying to be really as flexible as we can at the middle school level to make sure that those kids have a good experience, have a positive connection, while not overly stressing parents about, can I get there, can I not get there? So,
Sorry,
go ahead.
So if a child is in cohort 2, but their parents are willing to bring them to the school on Monday and Tuesday, can they participate all days that the athletics are, or are they stuck to only participate on the days they're in school?
Yeah, I think once we see the numbers, as you know, Kristen, when people sign up for things, who signs up, who shows up sometimes, are two different things. So we'll certainly look at, what are our numbers going to look like? We want the kids here, we want them participating, but especially at that level, we kind of want to make sure that we're taking some of the stress away from some of our families too. Okay. So we'll definitely look at that all the way.
Thank you. I didn't want to go long on this. I just know it's a rumor out there and people thought they could only participate on the day their kids were in the cohort. So I just wanted to clear that up. So thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Farah, could we have Angelo also address the coach stipend position while he's here?
Sure. I think we have an executive summary on that.
Yep. Did the board just fine with reading that, or is a rationale? Because there are questions asked about whether or not the stipend should be reduced for the shorter schedules.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the memo addresses the situation well. I think that coaches have been putting in the time, and the fact that there's going to be, in most cases, more weekend games, my recommendation is that we maintain the stipend levels per normal. I agree with Mr. Fantasia, basically.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we move on to JH, attendance policy. This is an action item. Jen, did you discuss this at the policy committee? Lee? Somebody want to jump in here?
Oh, Dr. Cochran, can I request your assistance with this because we went out of order on a few of these, but we do have, are you looking to do all 4 policies, Kim, or with the ones we went over?
No, today I'm just, no, the other ones haven't been noticed.
Oh, okay.
The only one we're doing is that one right there that you have up. We need to do that.
Perfect, yes. So
okay.
we updated the student attendance and excuses policy to more accurately reflect being engaged in a remote learning environment and what attendance would look like for that. The last paragraph of the original policy was struck because it was better captured down at the bottom. Basically, attendance must be taken during remote learning, whether it's Blizzard bag or remote or technology remote learning. The teachers are going to determine that daily based on the best of their ability, looking at different criteria, attendance and synchronous instruction lessons, viewing asynchronous course-related content, work attempted time and effort, work completed, and all other tasks that the teacher may have assigned. And the whole point of that, I think Dr. Cochran really worded nicely, and I'm going to let him speak to that just really briefly and not keep us all longer, but just about the work and effort and completion of tasks.
If you think of the range of students that we have in classes, we sometimes have students who complete all the work and complete all the learning and do that in the time allocated, and some may be a little bit bored in class every now and again. On the other hand, we can have a student who works very diligently across the entire day and may not complete as much or may not complete all the work and in fact may end up doing more homework at night. Both of those students have been in the class, have been participating, have been working on learning and engaging in the instruction that the teacher has provided, and therefore both of those would be marked as present. So it's essentially that combination, and we felt that this language, this revised language, gave teachers the direction that they needed along with the flexibility that they needed to be able to make good decisions. We know last year that we had students who drifted away in the spring and did not engage. And this time around, we need to make sure that we're taking attendance, being able to forward to guidance, names of any students that are not attending regularly, and move forward with supports for the student and the family to try and make sure that we bring all of the students back, engage them in their learning, and get them back to receiving their education.
Perfectly said. Thank you.
So we are looking to take, we're looking to waive the 2-week limitation on policy adoption and take immediate action to adopt this attendance policy. So this has been noticed per board policy BCB. So this would be a first and second read. This would be an immediate adoption, which would help us with the attendance during remote learning. So does somebody want to make a motion on that? Barbara?
Could we have discussion first? I just wanted to tighten up some of the wording in there, but keep all the main
I did get your email and I did send it to the policy committee. Jen, did you look at that? Jen?
You may have stepped away for a second.
Oh, I was on mute. I did get that when I was in the middle of the meeting, and it looked like the part looking to be tightened up and removed is better captured in the end, so it was actually completely struck out.
Okay. All right, so this is an updated one from the one we originally got?
Yeah, so do you see the screen share on there, Barbara?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so it does look tighter. Thank you.
Yeah, so that strike section, that was what we worked on in policy.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I will make a motion to accept. Oh, should we say something about the no access? I think that's captured in the to the best of their ability, and the teacher will be able to handle that.
Yep.
Well, can I ask a question about kind of that?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Dr. Cochran, just for clarification, I know we had talked before about students that have to self-quarantine because they travel outside of New England for going to colleges or doing whatever reason. So my understanding is that when they then come back, if they were hybrid students who are going to be in the school 2 days a week and now they have to quarantine and be out of the school, they're going to be marked absent even if they're doing remote. Is that still the procedure, or are we going to mark them a different way so it doesn't appear absent for those?
For this policy specifically at the high school level, because they can access all of their courses remotely, they would be able to be marked present. They just couldn't be in school because of the quarantining. So this would allow them to if they're engaging in the learning, then they're present as per this policy.
But they would just want, the school would want people to let them know that they're not actually showing up to school that day through Power School, but then they would still engage remotely and be marked present.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. Barbara, did you make a motion?
Barbara made the motion.
Second it if nobody has.
Kristen seconds. If there's no discussion, Kat, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Juby,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mrs. Mackmer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda is New Hampshire School Board Association resolutions. If we want to submit one, we need to do that by Friday, November 6th. So if anybody has a resolution, please send it forward and we can discuss it at the board. Moving on to the administrator's report and the personnel report, Dr. Cochran.
Just want to thank all the folks for the work, time, and effort that we put in. Administration, teachers, paras, the nurses, everything that they've done to try and get us reopening in the spring. It has been wonderful to see the level of concern, the level of expertise. I was forewarned, by the way, that Timberlane had phenomenal nurses, and they've certainly lived up to the stories that were told by a former nurse in Timberlane. The effort has been significant. You know, this has been a bit of a crazy ride from one day to the other with staffing situations and other things. The challenges have been consistent. I don't know how some of our administrators are still standing at the end of a week, but I'm just grateful that they are. Parents have some concerns, and we need to address those concerns. We need to give them the confidence that their students are going to be educated the way they should. And we're going to do some things differently and better than we did in the spring, like virtually every other district. I know there are significant special education concerns, and we are working to address those specifically as it respects to with respect to para support in virtual environments. That will be a significant addition and improvement this time around. And we want to thank all the folks that have been supportive of the schools. We do have a situation moving forward that's challenging, but we are hopeful that we'll be able to give students the education that they need. We know that there was some learning loss in the spring, and that's going to be a struggle this year. The professional development that occurred with respect to teaching, in particular, Mr. Peterson did a lot of work with some of the remote models, and there was PD across a wide range of areas. So on an upbeat, I think we go in with a new respect for the challenges of teaching in remote and an expectation of how important this is. There's just so many moving parts right now. that it has been a struggle, but I've seen everyone from custodians, food service people, paraprofessionals, you know, the work in the task force, the work since then has been significant, and the level of concern, the level of detail, the level of time and effort has just been exceptional. It has been 100 years and just over since the last pandemic. And I think the expectations of education have grown phenomenally during that time. We're going to be challenged again this year for a long time. And we're going to need our people to show up. We're going to need our folks to do the quality work that we know that they're capable of. And please know that we're doing everything we can to expedite the situation and provide a quality education for every student. I appreciate the emails, whether they are pats on the back or some other type of action. But we recognize that people, you know, want and need for their children, you know, better than we did before, as I say, in most districts. And we were doing that to the best of our ability. I promise you that at every level. I think we've done enough administrative stuff so far, and that's enough for me tonight. But I do want to thank the number of folks that have reached out in so many ways and welcomed me into the district, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a personnel report for tonight?
I do not see one in the package.
Okay. I did not see one either, and I just thought there might be one.
I'm sorry, I don't have the report, but I do believe there was someone on that. Let me.
I thought there was something from 827.
Yes, Dr. Cochran, I'm going to look. That doesn't come to me, but I'm going to just double check right now. I do believe there is someone that we were looking to move forward. That we got confirmation this afternoon.
Well, if we don't have that, we can do it like we normally do in the summer now and put it out. Please put the background in the agenda packet for tonight, and then have.
I have the 827 one that was in an email, and the nominations are for Bridget Sheehan, middle school nurse.
We signed this one.
We did this one.
Yeah, we signed it.
Okay.
It's all set.
Sandy, are you talking about someone else?
This was just in conversations with HR. I don't, you know, we can do it the way you just suggested. We'll do that. That's fine.
We now have it that we can approve this via the you know, Panda documents that we use. So
yeah,
we don't need to do it here at our meeting to have it signed.
No, we'll do it the other way. It's just that we have been doing some of these that way. All right.
Kim?
Is there, Kristen?
I'm sorry, were you moving on to the next thing? I had a couple things I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, that's what I was just moving on to, trying to close up the meeting here. So go ahead.
Okay. So with the MS-25, were we going to talk about that?
Oh, Barbara, did you get all your questions answered on that? Yes, you're all set?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Were there any other questions? So that needs to be signed by board members, the MS-25. If you haven't, we need 5 signatures.
DOE 25 is out there as well, so.
And the DOE 25, yeah. I should do that right now. Okay.
Any other questions on that?
No, I'm good with it. Anybody else on that? Kristen, did you have something else?
No, I just wanted to make sure that the questions were all answered while we had Jeff here on that one. But and then if I can with Jeff, I know committee was the next going into that. So I just had Jeff, what is safety committee? Are we, now that the schools are opening up, are we going to resume those meetings?
I'd like to. Yep, they may have to be virtual. I'd like to have those resume.
Okay.
So if you're on the committee, let's connect and find some times that work. We have some sort of slated times already.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so if you want to just, I mean, put out a poll and see what, but I think we should get those going again.
Yep, I agree.
Under the circumstance, so and I believe, yes, I am still on the committee, so I'm there with you. So, and then Kim, were you going to mention anything about air?
Oh, yes, sorry. One of the concerns that we have been hearing in regards to our buildings and opening has to do with the HVAC systems. We have employed an outside firm to come in and measure the air quality, or not the air quality, to measure the air circulation in rooms. Our personnel are essentially going with them and measuring at the same time so that we can verify that our instruments that we're using are calibrated to those same specifications. And we don't have a report yet, but anecdotally, it looks like we are getting the same readings as the outside firms. Also, there was concerns about temperature and humidity in the buildings. That it has been addressed in the school reopening plan that the board approved, and there will be guidance that will be followed in terms of school closures should the temperature and humidity get to such a level that we don't feel that it would be safe for students to be and faculty to be in there without with masks on. So those have been addressed.
And Kim, where was our ranking relative to the air quality relative to other districts with our numbers?
This was not a ranking. This is not an official ranking. It was more an anecdotal discussion.
Yeah. It wasn't a formal ranking, but somebody that's very aware of multiple school districts in our area said we are one of the better school districts as far as airflow goes, and we rank in the top. So it's not an official ranking, but somebody with very inside information to several school districts.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, Sarah?
Specific situation.
Sorry, Jen, I didn't hear that.
No, I was just saying that's very specific to this situation where we're looking at trying to exchange the air and bring in fresh outside air and not recirculate the air that's currently in the rooms.
That's correct. We're bringing external in to all the rooms and exhausting it out. Sarah?
I just, as far as committee report update, I just want to let you know that Sandy and I were able to connect and along with Jen and get our first CNA meeting scheduled for the 15th. And then we'll have another one on the 6th, and then we'll continue with the once a month. So CNA is going to be up and running in a couple of weeks.
Yay, that's good stuff.
Great, thank you. So our next board meeting should be in person.
I had something.
Sean?
Yeah, I know that this might is not exactly for the Timberlane School Board, but we are affected financially, and this is in regards to the Dr. Metzler's recent motion by the courts. He's actually filed a reconsideration. I just want to ask Brian, are we going to be following up on a response to the SAU's attorney to address that legal matter so that we can find out what's going on?
Yes.
I can do
The
that.
short answer is yes. They have, Dr. Metzler's attorney has appealed the decision for the court. He's questioning the motion of reconsideration, and we will be filing a response.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Barbara? Oh, you didn't have anything? Okay. The Energy Committee is due to meet in the next week or two, I think. Anything else before we adjourn?
Oh, Kristen, you're off.
I know, I'm back. Sheila, did you have something, or am I the last?
Budcom is meeting what, next week? Brian, are you on tap for that?
Right, Budget
Brian
Committee
Boyle?
meets next week. Brian, I think you're our rep to the Budget Committee.
I'll be there.
Okay. Anything else?
Thanks.
Oh,
Kristen?
This is just one thing, and I'm not sure of the proper procedure of this, and I may have already passed this, but when we approved the minutes, I actually had wanted to make a change, and I had just walked through the door minutes before this meeting started, and I didn't get a chance to do that, so I don't know if it's a matter of going back, or I just would like to have it stated in these minutes, specifically that in referring back to the minutes of our last meeting from August 20th, on page 4, I would have made the correction on the 3rd paragraph down, which starts as discussion on this topic. Are you following me, Kat? Where's Kat on my screen here? Okay. So when that discussion occurred on the third line down where it says cannot get these kids into school for education, we did, through that discussion, state that by the end of the athletic season or November 1st, 2020. I just wanted that in there for clarification because we did not say that if we could not get them in, that it would just be completely stopped. So for clarification purposes, I would have asked for those words to be added. I don't think we necessarily can go back to do that, but I would like that stated in these minutes for under other business cap.
What words do you want added?
What?
Which words do you want added?
The third in that paragraph where it says cannot get these kids into school for education. Are you following me?
I'm getting there. Hang on. Page 4. Yes.
Okay. So on that line, I would have asked to have the words added by the end of the fall athletic season or November 1st, 2020.
Duly noted.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, Dr. Cochran?
Yes, I've been working with Special Services Director Resico to potentially bring in Jane Bergeron. Jane is the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Special Educators Association, and we'd like to bring her in to give us a consult on our special ed services and delivery and staffing and see where we are, whether we're hitting some benchmarks, look at where we are with our procedures, where we're headed in terms of trajectory. My recommendation would be the board make a motion to bring her on at a salary of $75 an hour to a maximum of either 12 or 15,000. I have used her in this capacity. I've worked with her in her professional capacity in Nashua, and have used her in a consulting capacity like this in my last district, and the results were very significant. Ms. Rasico is in support of this audit and report being done.
Okay, so we are looking for a motion for the board to enter into a consultant agreement with Jane Bergeron for up to, let's say $12,000 to assess the special education services.
So made.
Sean makes a motion. Barbara seconds. Discussion? Kat, could you take a roll call vote?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lose,
Yes.
Mrs. Mockamer,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Savage,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? The board will not meet again before school opens, whichever form it may open for some students. We wish you a good start to the academic year. Thank you to all the staff and teachers that will be in the buildings and also working remotely. And special thanks to all the administrative staff who've really worked tirelessly to get this open. I'm certain there will be glitches, and I'm certain that everybody will continue to keep up the hard work, and parents, teachers, whoever, just bear with everybody, and we will get through this and hopefully have a better academic year as we move into this new COVID environment. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Night.
I know.
Night.
Good night.